Lucid dreaming is rarely treated as rigorous science. Neurologically, it's a glaring paradox. It's the moment two mutually exclusive brain states coexist. The first state is primary consciousness. This is your standard REM sleep. In this mode, your brain is focused on the present moment, experiencing the dream environment with zero access to past memories or future planning. The second state is secondary consciousness, which is your active waking mind. It operates with high-level cognitive functions like self-awareness, abstract thinking, and the exercise of free will. Biological rules dictate that you are either in one state or the other. Yet fMRI and EEG scans of lucid dreamers reveal a massive anomaly: the active, simultaneous firing of secondary waking functions during primary REM sleep. Mapping this overlap revealed a highly specific electrical signature. Metacognition during a dream produces dense 40 Hz wave activity, strictly localized over the frontal and temporal lobes. This sits within the lower gamma band, the signature associated with executive function and secondary waking consciousness. Observing these waves creates a classic scientific trap. We know the 40 Hz frequency is present when a dreamer becomes self-aware, but observation alone cannot establish how the two are related. A 2014 study published in Nature Neuroscience sought to answer a specific mechanical question. Does the act of waking up inside a dream organically generate this 40 Hz wave, or is the 40 Hz wave the physical trigger that creates self-awareness? Answering this required a highly controlled intervention. Researchers needed to inject a precise 40 Hz signal directly into a sleeping brain, without interrupting sleep. If researchers could manually induce this frequency and force lucidity, they would isolate the physical switch for higher-order human consciousness. Proving causation in sleep research presents immediate methodological hurdles. The REM state is intensely fragile. Any aggressive external stimulus will wake the subject up and ruin the data. Standard neuromodulation tools typically fall into two categories: transcranial magnetic stimulation, which uses a magnetic pulse, and transcranial direct current stimulation, which applies a constant flat electrical load. Both of these methods fail in sleep studies. They produce minor tactile sensations on the scalp and auditory noise. That sensory interference will instantly snap a subject out of REM sleep. To bypass this, the researchers utilized transcranial alternating current stimulation, or TACS. TACS delivers a smooth, oscillating microcurrent of less than 1 milliampere. At this microscopic dosage, the electrical wave enters the brain with absolutely zero physical sensation. The protocol required absolute precision. Researchers used EEG, EOG, and EMG sensors to confirm the subject was fully locked in to REM sleep. Only then would the TACS unit deliver a strict 2-minute burst of alternating current. To eliminate psychological bias, the study incorporated a sham condition. The hardware was attached to a control group, but the machine remained entirely inactive. To determine if consciousness responds to any electrical stimulation, or only to highly specific bands, the active machine cycled through a gauntlet of target frequencies: 2, 6, 12, 25, 40, 70, and 100 Hz. By solving the sensory disruption problem, the TACS protocol gave researchers the first clean, isolated pathway to hack the neural frequencies of an unconscious mind. After the 2-minute burst, researchers abruptly woke the subjects and evaluated their cognitive state using a quantitative metric called the Lucid scale. The Lucid scale breaks stream awareness down into measurable variables, isolating specific factors like logical thought, realism, memory access, and emotional regulation. This 8-axis radar chart shows the baseline results. Under the sham condition, and across all non-target frequencies, 2, 6, 12, 70, and 100 Hz, the data registered zero deviation. The subjects remained in normal, non-lucid REM sleep. But when the brains were exposed strictly to the 40 Hz lower gamma stimulation, a violent statistical anomaly emerged along the axis of insight. In clinical terms, insight is not a vague feeling. It is the sudden, clear, binary realization by the subject that their current reality is an artificial construct. The 40 Hz current triggered a second massive spike along the spatial perspective axis, labeled dissociation. Dissociation measures the neurological capacity to detach from the immediate physical self and observe the environment from a distinct third-person perspective. Then, a secondary anomaly appeared. The 25 Hz frequency entirely failed to trigger insight or disassociation. Instead, it activated a massive spike strictly along the axis of control. Control represents the active, willful manipulation of the dream environment. The data revealed this to be an entirely separate cognitive module from passive insight. The data demonstrates that secondary consciousness is not a monolith. Different bands within the lower gamma spectrum correlate to specific independent cognitive capacities, mapping a functional split between insight and control. How exactly does a brief, microscopic electrical wave structurally rebuild metacognitive processing in an unconscious subject? The mechanism driving this structural change is called phase synchronization. In a baseline sleeping state, the neurons in the frontotemporal lobes are firing, but their timing is chaotic and fragmented. They are active, but they are not communicating. When the 25 to 40 Hz alternating current enters the region, it acts as a master metronome. It sweeps across the fragmented network, imposing a rigid timing structure. The network quickly reaches a critical threshold. The chaotic neural firing locks in and begins pulsing in perfect unison, forced into synchronization by the external rhythm. This localized entrainment literally builds the temporary biological circuitry required to process secondary consciousness. You cannot force a sleeping brain to accept a random rhythm. The external stimulation only works when it perfectly matches the native 25 to 40 Hz lower gamma band, the brain's inherent architectural frequency for high-level cognition. By utilizing this phase synchronization protocol, the researchers achieved a 77% success rate in artificially inducing lucid dreams. This high induction rate establishes a statistical foundation for causality, shifting 40 Hz activity from a simple correlate to a primary driver. The research resolves the central mystery of the 2014 study. Lower gamma oscillations are the prerequisite for metacognition, rather than a byproduct of it. Faster, more urgent tone. Identifying the exact mechanical driver for consciousness opens up sweeping clinical implications outside of the sleep cycle. If lower gamma entrainment can force a sleeping brain into an awake state, similar targeted stimulation could be applied to treat severe disorders of consciousness, potentially stabilizing patients in vegetative or minimally conscious states. In healthy waking brains, the ability to selectively dial up 25 or 40 Hz frequencies point to the targeted enhancement of specific cognitive modules, artificially heightening metacognition, spatial focus, or abstract problem-solving on demand. Modern pharmacological treatments flood the entire nervous system to alter a single behavior. Transcranial alternating current stimulation isolates the exact cognitive function and adjusts it at the frequency level. Human awareness is a frequency-dependent network, and science has now mapped the exact electrical current required to turn